Hi there, Alec. This is Michael from OTCOnlineTOEFLcourse.com, and you are one of my TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course students. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and include the practice test first. I want my YouTubers to get the context. So everybody will see the reading passage and then the lecture, and then I'm going to look at your response to that information. I'm going to error correct your video.
TOEFL Integrated Writing Task. Writing based on reading and listening. For this task, you'll read a passage about an academic topic. A clock at the top right of your screen will tell you how much time you have to read. You should take notes on the passage while you read. The passage will then be removed, and you will listen to a lecture on the same topic. As you listen, you should also take notes. You will be able to see the reading passage again when it is time for you to write. You may use your notes to help you answer the question. You will then be asked to write a response that asks you about the relationship between the lecture to which you just listened and the reading passage. Using information from the reading passage and the lecture, answer the question as completely as possible. Please note that this question does not ask you for your personal opinion. Your response will be judged on the quality of your writing and on the completeness and accuracy of the content. You just read about the three main theories regarding child language acquisition. Now let's talk about some drawbacks of each theory. Regarding the imitation theory, children are able to produce many things in the adult language that were not imitated. For example, a child may say nana for banana, something that an adult would never say. Another problem with the imitation theory is that children make consistent errors that cannot be attributed to mispronunciation and which are still not ever heard in the adult grammar. When children make errors like drawed instead of drew, it indicates that children cannot simply be memorizing because adults do not make these types of errors. The last criticism of the imitation theory is that it does not explain how children can produce and understand novel utterances. For example, when a child says, "My nose is crying," which is something that an adult would never say, the imitation theory does not explain why children are able to produce this sentence when it was never received as input from an adult speaker. There are two main flaws with the reinforcement theory. First of all, strangely enough, parents do not actually correct children's grammar as much as we might think, and they do not praise them for using proper adult grammatical constructions either. What parents do seem to do is praise children for being truthful. For example, if a child says, "A dog wants to eat," parents tend to correct the child if the sentence is not true, as in, "No, Jimmy, the dog doesn't want to eat, it just ate." On the other hand, if children are truthful but produce ungrammatical sentences such as, "Nancy goed to school yesterday," parents often respond by saying, "Yes, she did," without bothering to correct the child's use of the word goed. The second flaw with the reinforcement theory is that even when parents attempt to correct a child's grammar, there is little evidence that it has any great effect on the language development of the child. In most cases, children seem determined to continue to produce incorrect forms despite correction from adults. Perhaps the strongest of the three theories, the active construction of a grammar theory has two limitations. Firstly, it cannot be ignored that at least some language is acquired by imitating the sounds and words of the language of their caregivers or peers. We have all seen cases where children hear a bad word and then repeat the word at home without really knowing its meaning. Then the parents usually respond by saying, "Where did you hear that?" Secondly, all adults have corrected their children's grammar at some point, and they have also praised their children when they say something correctly. Therefore, at least some language to some degree must have been learned either because of the imitation theory or because of the correction of rules theory, or known as the reinforcement theory. Thus, even though the active constructions of rules theory seems to explain in large part how children acquire language, it cannot explain completely how children learn a language. Read the question below. Use the remaining time indicated to plan and write your response. Your response will be judged on the quality of your writing, as well as how well your response presents the points in the lecture and the relationship to the reading passage. Typically, an effective response consists of 150 to 225 words. How does the information in the listening passage relate to the information in the reading passage? Pause the video to write your response now.
So based on what I read, I'm going to put your score between 4 and 5. Your score right now is 25 points. I may make an adjustment after I do the error correction. Okay, so let's get started. So we now know what's in the reading passage. We know what's in the lecture. So let's see how you organized this information. Did you make the required connections between the information in the listening passage with the information in the reading? So the article discusses three main theories regarding, I wouldn't even say it like that. I would just say child language acquisition. I wouldn't even make it a possessive noun there. I would just say child language acquisition. However, the lecturer disagrees with the author and challenges each of these theories. Typically, we don't put a comma before coordinating conjunction, especially if this part of after the coordinator doesn't have a subject and a verb. So you're saying disagrees and challenges each of these theories. So basically, you have two verbs pointing back to the same subject, so you don't really need a comma before that conjunction. But if you had said the lecturer disagrees with the author and he challenges each of these theories, then you could put the comma before the word and. But whether you put it there or you don't, it's not a major error. That's nothing that's going to wreck your score. It says first, the article explains the imitation theory, which is based on the opinion that children copy words they hear from the grown-ups. Conversely, the speaker rebuts this idea excuse me, by providing several examples. Okay, let's see what we got here. For instance, he remarks that children also use incorrect words such as nana instead of banana. I'm going to just combine these so you have a little bit better syntactic. Your sentence is sometimes a little bit too short. So we'll say, he remarks that children also use incorrect words such as nana instead of banana, make grammatical errors, or implement strange word expressions that they couldn't hear from the grown-up people. I'm going to say that they didn't hear. I would use did not there. Therefore, mimicking cannot solely explain how the language is learned. Maybe concludes. Put that voice marker in there. Concludes the speaker, you might say. And that keeps it all framed as a summary. Next, the writing passage debates the reinforcement theory. According to this theory, parents can help children to learn the language by rewarding the proper usage of words and grammar and correcting the mistakes. On the other hand, the speaker believes that this theory holds several flaws. This is a great sentence. I like this. It kind of leads into his belief is based on the fact that parents usually neither correct children if they say something incorrectly, nor non-native speaker error right here, nor do they reward them for the appropriate use of language. So in this case, when you have a negative word, this is the beginning of this independent clause, right? Negative words like neither. Neither did my friend. I didn't go to the store, and neither did my friend. So you have to put nor plus the auxiliary plus the subject, then the main verb there. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, go to Google. Subject verb inversions with negative words and see what you find. Okay? So it says, in addition, even when parents point to the errors in the children's talk, children have the tendency to repeat the same mistakes. Maybe an indication that something other than correction seems to be guiding We could probably do this. Okay, I think it's good to put that in there to kind of clarify that. In addition, even when parents point to the errors in the children's talk, children have the tendency to repeat the same mistakes, an indication that something other than correction seems to be guiding their learning. Based on these examples, the lecturer doubts that I'm going to put that the reinforcement theory is significantly involved in the language development. So that's good. Finally, the author of the passage talks about the active grammar construction theory, which claims that children make up their own grammar rules. To further elaborate, don't forget the elaborate infinitives have what they use the base form. To elaborate on this point of view, the writer explains how children make improper past tense by adding the ed at the end of irregular verbs or invent some imaginary words. Okay, explains how children make an improper past tense. However, the lecturer contends that children sometimes surprise their parents by using inappropriate words that they have heard outside the house. Thus, imitation is at least in part involved in the development of language. Similarly, wow, that's a good one. Look at your transition words in here. Good grief. Finally, to further elaborate, however, thus, similarly, wow. Woo! I don't know. I think you have a few minor problems in there, but I'm going to go a bit higher on this thing. I'm going to say maybe 27 on this. I mean, that one paragraph is incredible. You really got a lot of stuff going on there that shows your language abilities. To further elaborate on this point of view, the writer explains, however, the lecturer contends that children, thus imitation, similarly, the speaker indicates that parents occasionally correct language errors of their children, suggesting that reinforcement is also implicated in the language learning. For these reasons, the lecturer asserts that although the active grammar construction theory might be the strongest one, it cannot be solely used to clarify how children acquire the language. Wow, did you put it all together there? What analysis that was. That's impressive. Yeah, this skyrockets your writing right here. And I know you got 23 on the last writing, and it's really hard to believe. Based on this paragraph, I don't see that. I don't see you getting a 23. But you never know about the TOEFL. I just got some bad news from one of my students. Her speaking clearly is between 26 and 30, right? And on the last previous TOEFL exam, she got 25, right? All of a sudden, on her third TOEFL test, she took the test and got 19 on the speaking. You think I'm going to believe that? There's no way. There's no way this student got 19. I know her. I listened to her speaking. And I'm telling you right now, there's no way this essay here will score lower than 24 points. There's just no way. Now, anybody at YouTube, if you guys disagree with me, put your comments below my video. Let's hear it. Okay, let's keep going. In conclusion, the lecturer doubts theories. I'm going to put doubts the theories discussed in the reading passage and argues that none of these theories could be used alone to explain how children learn the language. Okay, what does this tell me? I made a few minor corrections, but you had great control. You got 397 words. That is plenty enough for the integrated writing. And remember, you only have 20 minutes to do it. So you don't have to develop anything. You have a complete, accurate response. I like how you had a short paragraph in the beginning, but you definitely showed what the relationship is between the reading and the listening. You have really easy structured paragraphs. I like the use of these transition words here, like conversely there. That kind of shows how the listening passage is different from the information in the reading. You did the same thing here, right, on the other hand, and you're able to show the difference there. And then the last paragraph was a little bit more difficult because it wasn't necessarily that the listening passage disagreed with all the other theories there, and I think you were able to capture the gist of that, I think, in this paragraph, especially when you said that although the active grammar construction theory might be the strongest one, it cannot be solely used to clarify how children acquire the language. That was very good analysis, a very astute analysis of the information in the listening passage. So you get it, you understand it, you explained it, you organized it. You had a good degree of polish here. So that's why I started at 25, but I looked at this one paragraph here and I had to make a bigger change there. You see that? So I'm going to put you around 27 points out of 30 on this. Let's say it's close to the 5. Let's read what it says. A response at this level successfully selects the important information from the lecture and coherently and accurately, yes, on both accounts, presents this information in relation to the relevant information presented in the reading. The response is well organized, yes, and occasional language errors, yes, that are present do not result in inaccurate or imprecise presentation of content or connections. Yes, I have to say yes to all these things. I mean, I can almost give you a 30 on this, but I don't want to do that. The TOEFL is really, really a big beast. I always go. I'm always a little bit more conservative in the scores I give because I know how the TOEFL works, and they got that. They have that E-rater, that what do you call that, scoring engine, that software program that looks at your writing. See, the only thing I might say in that regard to you, Alec, is be careful you don't use too many short sentences, that are less than or fewer than, say, 20 words, right? Because the E-rater scores your writing for those ideas, those linguistic features, the sentence length, the type of vocabulary used, and the grammatical correctness of the ideas that you're trying to put forth there. So you want to impress the E-rater don't overdo it though. Don't have every sentence is 50 words either. That's a disaster. But I would say longer is better than shorter, and typically longer is between 20 and 30 words or so. That would be a pretty good sentence length for this type of writing. All right, and thank you for completing this one. So this is your second error correction as part of your TOEFL Writing Bootcamp course. Keep sending the writing practice, right? And from now on, I'm not going to error correct everything, but I will still give you scores, and I'll still give you some basic feedback on the writing that you're doing so that you can continue to monitor your progress. All right? You got this. You can do this, right? I mean, your thought process, your organization, your word choice, you can get 24 or higher on the writing. There's no reason that you cannot do this. I think you just need a little bit of guidance. That's all you need. You have all of the language that you need. You have everything in your brain. I think you can pull this thing off. You're not just going to get 24. I think a good goal for you is to go to 29 to 30. Why not? All right. Thank you.